Hey everyone, welcome to Ghost Prime Transformers Reviews. Today I'll be taking a look at the Warfare Cybertron Trilogy Earthrise Voyager class Starscream. This is the newest Starscream that come out in the Earthrise line, which is just now hitting stores. This figure is essentially an upgraded, oversized classics Starscream. There is a lot of new engineering on him that's clever. He is a much more posable figure. Definitely aesthetically looks a lot better. Now he's actually very decent as far as an upgrade that does retain some of the old shortcomings of the Transformers from that era and of that classics Starscream in general. But overall, he's a very good figure. The question is, are you ready for a whole new line of Seekers? So we're gonna have this guy. We already have this guy. You know we're going to have Skywarp and Thundercracker too. Are we going to get the Coneheads? I mean, that's always a possibility, right? And if we don't get the Coneheads, if you did collect classics, how are these going to fit into that collection? Because they are larger than the classics Starscream or the classic Seekers. Overall, he does have a lot more detail. He has a lot more posability. He doesn't have any of that unsightly, very unsightly battle damage. So, without any further ado, let's get to the review. And as per usual, let's start off with the packaging. Now, Starscream comes in this Earthrise packaging. We get the Earthrise logo down at the bottom. It comes packaged in robot mode. Starscream name. Now, here is the side view. Usually I look really forward to seeing these images. This one is not as good as the other ones. He actually looks more like the Tetrajet, as you could tell by these pieces right here being angled, the way the wings are angled. He looks like this was made for the earlier Siege, and they didn't use it. I'll have to look at my other boxes. I don't remember how it looked. Top, of course, is the standard top Decepticon logo. That seems to be sort of not coming through really well. Bottom is Words and Things. The other side is the Siege art, which I'm really hoping to get one of these guys. Back of the packaging is, of course, the product shots of the figure there, jet mode there, and him with the Battle Master. Inside the packaging, you do get the instructions, which is a simple fold-out that has very clear instructions. How to transform. Shows you that he has a decoder, which I have not removed from the packaging. It is right there. The decoder comes packaged right there, and you use it to see this section here. Now, usually there is a name, like on Optimus Prime, it was Micron, I believe, for a planet. There is no names in here. It's just these red lines. So kind of disappointing there. There's nothing else in the packaging. Back is just cardboard. And then you have the figure. Now, he does come packaged like this, but he does have weapons. His null rays are removable. Let's get a close-up of there. Of this null ray. Here's the null ray. These are nice. These are much better than the classics ones with the shooting missiles. I like these. They are hollow on the underside, which is a bit of a shame because this part does stick out under the wing. And I would like to have seen this solid. I guess if they had to do it, then I guess that's the best spot to do it, but I would have liked to see them solid. He has really nice paintwork, a lot of nice detail. Let's get in a little closer, see if we can see that head sculpt here. Pretty nice head sculpt. Still no smirk, but he has some really nice little red eyes there. Shiny noggin. You know, pretty nice. All in all, he's got some nice red paint. Nicely painted chest intake panels. No scuff marks, which were just awful. Does have a little bit of hollowness here in the wings. Not too bad. It's really, really very minor. It's not that big of a deal. There's not very much hollow on him. If you notice, the legs are fairly solid. The only real bits that show up hollow on the figure itself are the... Actually, right under here is what I'm looking for. Under there, just right in through the side, and under his arm here. Now that's not too bad. That's not really that big of a deal. The side panels is kind of an eyesore. If you notice it, you can see it right there. That is something that I think they could have changed, but overall, it's not that big of a deal. So before I get into articulation, let's do some comparisons in robot mode. Here he is with Siege Starscream. As you can see how these two compare. Definitely more G1 than this one. There are a bit of differences, of course, because of just the much different character. This guy's much more posable, waist articulation, all that. The chest, you see how that changed. Let's get these a little close up, just so you can see a little bit more here of what changed between Siege and Earthrise. So they weren't even trying to make this be the same character. He has a different head sculpt. He has light piping here, no light piping on this one. Completely different null rays. The whole chest design is different. This is definitely more the classic style. But they're about the same height. Same coloring, essentially. This is blues here is a little lighter than this one. Here he is with his wave mate, Grapple. They are both the same class. As you can see, head to head, he's a little taller in the head, a little shorter than the intakes here on the shoulders. Here he is with Siege Megatron. Now, I wonder if we're going to get this guy in Earthrise. He is on the packaging without all of this weird, really badly placed battle damage. As you see, he's a little taller. They're both Voyager class figures. And of course, the original Classics Starscream. Now, I never got this guy in the G1 colors. This is the original Starscream from Classics. These, as you can see here, they actually have a lot of the same aesthetics as far as this little piece over the cockpit. They has the a very similar sort of, see the hollowness here. Very similar. This one is a little longer, but it's very similar to that. If you look at the leg shape's also very similar. They have the wings on the side here that fold up in exactly the same manner. The back of it, again, it actually looks completely just oversized with the exception of the feet here. Even this piece, very, very, very similar. They did take a lot from this figure. As you can see, this is a deluxe and this is a Voyager, so they upscaled him. But there's, a bit of differences without tragedy striking. So it is a lot of the same. Head sculpt wise, you want to get in there, so let's get it in focus. This one's hard to see here because it never was painted. But as you can see, the cockpit is connected to the head, so you actually, the articulation is like, moves the cockpit too on the old Classics version, where this one this head is free. That is a nice upgrade. And I'll go over some more of the upgrades, but there's like this flap here flaps up where this does not, so it doesn't hit the legs. Little things like that. There is no bicep swivel on there, but there's bicep swivel on here. Of course, they have the different feet, so he has completely different thrusters than he does. If you look at the feet on the bottom there, this allows him to be much more sturdy. This guy likes to fall backwards. These null rays look way better than these big ones. Sorry for the blurriness. So the null rays, as you can see, these are very large. Even for this, these are very large. So, but they did take a lot from this figure. So let's get into posability. So for posability, of course, his arms could go out, T-pose like this. He has a little bit over 90 degrees at the elbow. He does have a elbow swivel that goes 90 or sorry, not 90 degrees, 360 degrees all the way around, barring taking the null ray off. He does not have any type of wrist swivel. That is because of transformation. So because this piece goes up like that, so there's no wrist swivel at all there. The shoulder does go all the way around, almost all the way around. It does hit the wing. Now the wing is able to be moved back like this to allow for some reaching behind, but there's still a bit here. So if you can see, get the light there, you can still see kind of how it hits, but it does go all the way around. The head is on a ball joint, so he can get a slight inquisitive look on either side. Kind of look down a little bit up, and if I get my sausage fingers in there, 360 degrees around. He has no waist articulation whatsoever, and that is mainly due to transformation. This piece, as aforementioned, does go up to allow his legs to go almost all the way out, like that. Knee comes down, does a 90-degree bend. Hips come back. Oops, that came untabbed. There we go. Hips could go out like this, so not quite the full splits. And his leg cannot go that far back because he hits this little flap in the back right here. Now for his feet are on a joint here, so he can do the ankle tilt, which is really nice. Gives him some nice posability. He does have, I forgot to mention this earlier, he does have complete thigh rotation, so you can go all the way around there at the hip, instead of actually more of the hip rotation than thigh rotation, but he can go all the way out. And that's fairly much it for the articulation. He can't, of course, his feet can't go back and forth, but you can still get some really decent poses out of this guy. So to get into transformation, first you want to remove the null rays. And then what you want to do is take the arms. Now this is something that's completely different than the classics version, right? So let's see if I can get in here and get the camera focused. So you take this piece right here, you can see there's a little hinge, and you move that forward. Now that exposes this little elbow piece here. And what you want to do is take the fist, move that like that. Take this little elbow piece, there's a hinge here and a hinge here, up, around, and then stick this nub through this end piece right there. It goes right in like that, and close it back up. So you have a very much a shorter arm piece, right? You do that for both sides. I think this part is actually very clever. Because it hides that hollowness. It gets rid of the hollowness in the arm that you would get from moving the fist in and out. So now you could... So there's... Now this is definitely a place where I could see some chipping happening. There's these two pieces are painted and they're actually locked into place right there. And that's kind of tough. They lock into place really tight and it's kind of tough to get them out. So you just kind of got to get your fingers in there and just kind of go like that. But as you can see, they come in like this and they kind of rub up here on the bottom here. So it could definitely eventually wear. So be careful how many times you transform this back and forth. So take the back piece, which is very similar to the classics. Move this up, get it in focus, move this up, around, over his face, little tab goes right in there. Move it up. You could twist it around. There's this here piece right here that that long tab goes into. It snaps right in place, just like that. Turn it back around. The arm should fold in like so. Hands go together. This almost feels like the masterpiece a little bit to me. And then you move this whole piece, this whole back piece like this, which was like this, back up, and snap into place. So that's the front. So you could take the legs now, and what you want to do is unpeg the knee. And instead of sliding like the classics, it does the new thing that the newer Transformers do, which is they're on a hinge, so it comes out and around, and then what you want to do is go like that. Now these, you see there's a tab here, and there's a tab here and here. So this tab into the legs together. So you just fold up this leg the same manner and tab all these pieces in together. And then this piece here, move that up, push those down, that goes over the top. Now we have the back wings and the feet. Move the back wings up, and they tab in. So I'll show you on this side. Move up, there's a tab right here, and then there's a tab right inside there. Go up, tab together. This generally will move the back of the heels, move the front feet down like this, very similar to like a Robotech, or Macross, I should say, Veritech. Wings on a hinge and a hinge, around, tab there, that goes tab there, and then there's another tab here, tabs in there. They all tab in together, like so. Wings go down. Last but not least, take the null rays, underside of the wings, like so, face them forward, and here you have Starscream in his jet mode. Now, this jet mode actually is very reminiscent of the Japanese Takara version of the Masterpieces. This is what this one reminds me of. It looks a lot like that. It does not have the blue nose cone. It has a solid gray nose cone. It's also completely solid plastic. I think that might be the first time since G1, or since like some of the other G1s. Like G1 was rubber, but maybe since Diaclone, this was plastic, like a hard plastic. Even on the classics, it's a little rubber piece. So that's sort of, that's interesting to me. Now, there's a ton of detail in this. If you'd like to get up close to all the panel lining. Very nice panel lining. You got the Decepticon logos here on the side of the wings on either side. Now, these are actually further over. So when you turn the wings around, they show up around his arms, so you can actually see it. So the placement of them looks a little weird on the plane to me, but I think it's necessary. The cockpit is a gorgeous color of orange, nicely painted. You can actually even see a little seat in there, which is nice that they put that detail. This cockpit is really nicely done. Now, of course, on the underside, you do have some unsightly bits. This could fit my finger right in there, and I mean, that's huge. Like, I know the classics had that because of the smaller format figure, you don't see it as much. This is just really big, and then if you look at it from the front, it's definitely noticeable. Also, there's no folding down landing gear like in here. Instead, you have these little nub pieces here, and here is what this sits on. So it sits down like that on top of them, and no landing gear. So the back, of course, also the feet are different. The thrusters, which these feet form the thrusters, instead of these forming up this way, they go down the other way. It doesn't look so bad. Actually, I think it looks pretty good. Overall, I'm being nitpicky about this, but overall, it's a really nice jet mode. I definitely like the jet mode. Of course, you have places where you could put here. This is mainly for robot mode, but really you could put any sort of mounted weapon there. It does have these little pieces right here. These little tab holes, but nothing tabs in it on this figure. The only thing I can assume is that one of the figures that go on his back or on top of the jet, and maybe it'll come later, that will sit on there and that holds it solid from here and these points. It's the only thing I could think of for that. But he does have some other points you could put in his null rays instead of under the wings. You could put them on the side of his arms, like so. or you could put them on the tail fins, or you could put other weapons on the tail fins. You could also, if you look, on the side of the leg there, put them a little further back if you like that sort of look instead, which is not a bad look. It looks pretty good. So overall, I mean, you got some nice options here. It is a decent figure. I really enjoy having this figure. So just for a quick size comparison between this and the classics. All right, here's the classics. So here they are together. You can see the size difference here. Move it a little bit in there. As you can see, this is a much larger figure. Got how they compare. Of course, the front end is open on both of them. And there's the underside for both of them. It's very, very similar figures. I could understand why some people would be turned off on this one if they have this one already. Because it seems like, well, it's just an oversized, classic Starscream. For all intents and purposes, that's true. So, overall, I mean, it is really nice looking, though. And there's the back. Just to kind of get a good overall feel for this. Here he is with the Siege Starscream. Here how he compares size-wise. The cleaner look is so much nicer. But you can see the colors. And Masterpiece Ghost Starscream. See how he compares here with size-wise. Just because. And the missiles came off. So that's how he compares size-wise to the Ghost version of the Masterpiece Starscream. So, for some final thoughts on this guy. And yeah, so there you have Earthrise Voyager class Starscream. Question is, does he replace your classic Starscream? Now, if you don't have a classic Starscream and you don't have a Generation 1 style upgraded Seeker, I could definitely highly recommend this figure. He is really good, does fit in scale with the other figures from the line. Tons of detail, really nice tight joints, at least on my example. I do like this figure better than I thought I would. I thought, okay, well, I'll get Starscream. We'll see how it goes. I'm really not in for replacing all of my classic Seekers, which are some of my favorite Transformers, and starting that whole thing again, which I might do because it fits scale-wise a lot better. It looks really nice next to Megatron. Transformation's really good. Of course, you do have that big area where the chest becomes in the plane mode. It's just open and it's quite unsightly. Chances are you won't be displaying him in that mode, but I do like this as an upgraded version. I think it's very good, and if you do decide to get him, I do think you'll be happy. So please like, subscribe. Please subscribe. I could really use the subscribers. Hit the down button if you have to. I'll see you guys next time.